Chapter 8 To Save a Life. Ayla POV. Man, last night was awesome. I was all like, wham, pow, zap. The Maker's light in your face. And that one undead knight's head when it went flying was just great. But now I was walking in a secret underground passageway into Redcliffe Castle, which was crazy. I lived here my whole life and no one ever found this place. I mean, I played in the windmill all the time. But I guess when you're rich, building underground escape hatches from the castle to the village is just something you do. Clearly, the Owless Sar was talking out of her ass. She clearly knows something, but Tegan was a little too noble and rushed off with the Owless Sar. Ayla, more light, whispered Nick. And Nick, this butt-face is using me as a torch since we got down here. I cast another light spell. In the Maker's light, and an orb of light no bigger than my fist lit up the passage. Why am I acting as the torch? I'm a cleric, Nick corrected. Cleric of the Maker. I carry the Maker's book and a big kill me mace. Why am I in the back, and not leading? This seems weird to me. Nick started giggling. Hey, Theron, you hearing this? New girl, who just got her powers, wants to take the lead. Nick taunted me. Theron smirked. They were asking for a mace to the face. Ayla, while it is brave of you to come with us, you are still new to combat. For now, you should stay back and join in with, what did you call them, Nick? Aidan asked. Buffs. Right, buffs. Don't worry, we'll give you pointers along the way. Personally, I would feel better if you had a few months of training, but I don't think we have that sort of time. Just stay close to Nick and Morrigan, they'll keep you safe. Aidan ordered. Is Aidan the leader? I thought Duncan was leading since he's the oldest, or maybe the king, you know, 'cause he's the king. I think Nick saw the confusion on my face. Aidan is better at leading a small group, Kaelin leads best with an army, and Duncan is more of a solo fighter. You will find your place in due time, but first, you're going to take a crash course in group combat. Have you been reading your spells? Nick asked. I did pretty good last night. I mean argued like an adult. You beat 4 undead with your new, and heavily rune, mace imbued with holy power. You're welcome, by the way. At that point, you could have poked them and they would have exploded, and then you overpowered a single spell and gave yourself mana exhaustion, knocking you out for the rest of the fight. That was the worst. I just wanted to lay on the floor and die. What you need is experience and time. We'll teach you some basic combat on Mother Base, and have myself or one of the others teach you how to use your mana right. I did kinda throw you into the deep end, but now you know what happens if you overextend yourself. He said, making my awesome fighting prowess seem like a child swinging a stick. More light, I sighed, making another light orb. And that's how it was for the next 30 minutes. Nick would teach me how to feel my magic core and feel how much mana I still had. Duncan taught me the best way to carry my new mace so it wouldn't smack my thigh every time I took a step. Morrigan gave me a satchel to carry my symbol of power. It wasn't very good, but she said it was only a placeholder and that I would have to make my own. Theron corrected my footwork. Apparently, I've been walking wrong my whole life, and gave me a small knife and said it was to make sure I was never unarmed. For a small while, I was leading with Alistair and Sten, in which Alistair would point out an old scoff mark that would indicate that this tunnel hasn't been used in a long time. Sten would then deduce that the servants would not know of this place, otherwise, they would have used it to escape whatever was happening in the castle. Ayla, what was the Maker like? Leliana asked. I blinked at her. I'm not sure. I've only been his cleric, Nick corrected again. Cleric, for like, a day, but every time I use a spell, I feel like I'm bigger than my body. Like, for a moment, I can see everything, know everything. I can feel a warm hand on my shoulder telling me that everything is going to be okay, and not to worry. Nick, you've seen him, right? What did he look like? I asked. Nick said nothing, only continued to walk. I was going to ask again, but he spoke. Gods are not simple things. Your Maker did not have a physical body for me to see. I only saw an outline. I have only seen and spoken to one other god, and it took the appearance of someone I've known before. It told me if I see its true face that my mind would not handle it and I would cease to exist. Gods are strange and unknown beings. They don't exist and exist at the same time. What does that mean? Morrigan asked, eyeing him. Gods don't exist until they do, and then they've always existed. It is strange to put into words. You'll only truly understand when you meet one, and if you're not a cleric, it's best to wait until you're very old before meeting. How do you know all this? Asked Sten. Even through his stoicism I could hear his reluctance to hear all this. I'm special. We made it. We all looked down the passage to a dead end. A dead end? Is this a trap? I asked. Why did Ban Tegan send us in here if this leads to a dead end? Don't be silly, Julia spoke. I could feel her smirk. She knows something. Nick raised his hand, stopping anyone from speaking. This is a perfect test for Ayla. On our way here, Sten and Alistair gave you advice on your perspective. Now lead us out of this dead end and into the castle. People need our help. I suggest you hurry. He ordered. Everyone moved out of the way, allowing me up to the front, only for my light spell to end, plunging us into the dark. Ayla, more light. Feck, I whispered. Making another orb of light, I got a good look at the wall. It looked like a solid wall, nothing out of place. It didn't help that everyone was quietly looking over my shoulder, judging me. Nick, we're in a hurry. We can't wait here, Duncan spoke up behind me. Just give me a make a damn moment. I'm new at this. This is a perfect moment. In fact, I don't think we could get a better moment. A ticking clock, danger, lives on the line. This is what she signed on for. Nick's voice sounded distant, like he was a few yards away instead of right behind me, and then a small glow seemed to appear on the wall. What is that? Reaching up to it, I realized that it was an indentation just like the one at the windmill. Here, I spoke up. There's a symbol, like the one at the windmill. I think it's a keyhole. Kalen, Nick asked. Kalen stood next to me and inserted the ring Tegan gave him, and lo and behold, the wall slid out of the way like a magic door. So cool. I then felt Kalen pat me on the shoulder. Good job, Ayla, he complimented. Duncan followed him out with all the frontline fighters. Nick patted as well. Knew you could do it, he whispered. I'm not going to lie, I puffed out my chest a little, allowing a little pride into my walk. Nick stopped me and pointed to the people ahead of us. What? Why did he stop me? Look at our group leader. What are Kalen and Duncan doing? I looked at Duncan and Kalen. They had their back to us. But they did have their weapons on hand. I reached down to my mace and unsheathed it from my clip holder. Good. When you follow someone's lead, it is important to know what they are doing. If they have a weapon on hand, you have a weapon on hand. It shows unity in a group and gives anyone foolish enough to attack us zero openings. But there's nothing here. I pointed out the obvious. He nodded. True, we came out in the dungeons like Tegan said we would, but the moment the wall opened up we entered enemy territory, and to walk unarmed would be foolish at best, suicidal at worst. Always remember that. I nodded, following him out. The spell to give us holy power was on the tip of my tongue. Hello, is anyone out there? I need help. A voice broke the silence. I gripped onto my mace really hard. Is this a trick? Is there someone really down here, or is this some sort of trap? I looked over to Nick, who had his hand palm out with a small flame in the center pointing down the dungeon hall. Best I stay close. There had to be well over 50 prison cells down here, but they were empty. All but one. There was a hand sticking out of one of the cells trying to catch anyone's attention. Kalen, great sword drawn and in a defensive stance, slowly approached the cell at an angle. Speak, Kalen ordered. Whoever was in the cell jumped back and made a racket in his cell. He probably fell over on something in the cell. His face slammed back onto the cell window with a wild look in his eye. Hello, please, help. I've been stuck in here for a week. I haven't eaten in 6 days. Please get me out. The man screamed, slamming into the door, begging to be let out. Kalen kept his cool. Who are you? He asked. Why are you locked up down here? I'm Joan. I worked here, but when the dead began to rise, I came down here to escape them but ended up locking myself in. Please, you have to let me out. He continued to beg. Nick leaned over and whispered into my ear. He's lying. You don't say, I whispered back. What do you want from me? You have the fancy book. See if you can make him tell you the truth. I took out my book and stood behind him trying to block the light while looking at the pages. I can't read. I was a farmer my whole life, a half-elf farmer to boot. Sure, I know my numbers, I didn't want to be cheated when making deals, but I've never been taught to read. That didn't matter though. Whenever I open my book, I know what all the words mean, and a voice tells me what the spell does. And this one was perfect. Kalen, if you would allow me to ask a question, I asked. He rose an eyebrow at me but nodded. For the Maker knows the truth. A golden shimmering dome expanded from the book, covering everything within 60 feet. No one did anything, just looked around. No one can lie within this dome for the next hour. Now, what are you doing here? I asked Joan. Joan was shaking like the old Templar that lived by the chantry. I was sent here to poison the Arl, he gasped. Kalen and Alistair looked ready to destroy the cell to get to him. Who sent you? Kalen was no longer asking, he was demanding. Joan continued to shake, trying to lie. It was Logain's new right-hand man. Ho how. He was panting against the cell wall. Aidan was now next to Alistair and the king, ready to rip Joan in half with their bare hands. Why are you down here? Nick asked. I managed to poison the Arl, but the Al-Assar somehow found out about my actions and locked me down here. He whimpered. I want to leave this scum down here to rot. Everyone loved the Arl. He was the one who gave my father the farm. Why are there undead attacking the village? Naisha asked. I'm not sure. Are you a mage? Nick followed up. This time Joan was shaking like crazy, trying to keep his mouth shut. Why yes. Were you the one who started all this? Nick asked. No, I was locked in here before the undead rose up. How clearly had better assassins than you. Why were you hired? Nick continued. The boy, Connor, he's a mage. He just came into his power. The Al-Assar didn't want to send her, only child, to the circle. She hired me to teach him to hide his power. Did Eamon know of this? Asked Kalen, very upset with what is going on. No, he was unaware of his son's power. He seemed to stop trying to fight my spell. Please let me go. Why are you not in the circle? Asked Duncan. I escaped after destroying my phylactery about a month ago. I've been on the run since. I ran into Howe not long after that. He kept me around waiting to put me to use. You're not a very good mage. You can't even escape this cell. What is so special about you that he would keep you around? I might not like the chantry, but making an enemy of them is no joke. Aidan spoke, arms crossed with a scowl on his face. I'm a blood mage, he whimpered out. Almost everyone recoiled from that one statement. A Maleficar, like the ones in the stories. I guess I'm really traveling with heroes. The man looked defeated. There was zero chance of him getting out of there now. Nick reached into his portal and pulled out a cooked steak and tossed it into the cell. Nick, Kalen asked. We need him alive. With him here we now have real proof that Logain, or at very least his subordinates, are undermining Ferelden. The king looked extremely reluctant to leave this monster alive but nodded. With Joan's testimony, we have Howe by the balls, and I'm planning to yank as hard as possible. We need to keep moving. Al-Assar was okay when she came to collect Tegan, but we're not sure about everyone else. Kalen nodded and took the lead. Let's move, he ordered. I could hear Joan crying as we left. I did feel a little bad, but he made his own choices. Nick POV. After leaving Joan behind, we began moving into the castle proper. I don't know what was the contractor's idea of what a good castle would look like, because every hallway looked the bloody same. I mean, sure they had zombies, but I don't think they put those here. With Sten, Alistair, Aidan, and Duncan with weapons imbued with holy power, they made short work of any undead that got any ideas. We went room by room killing undead and saving the blacksmith's daughter and a few servants that barricaded themselves in the kitchen. I left steel golems as protection and kept moving through the castle. We finally reached the main room where we found Tegan jumping around like a jester, entertaining Connor and a group of obviously brainwashed soldiers. "So, these are our visitors, the ones who told me about Mother." The dual tone of Connor sneered. "Yes, Connor," she meekly answered. "Good Lord, woman, grow a backbone. I know he's possessed, but still, he's a child, just punch him in the face. And this is the one who defeated my soldiers, the ones I sent to reclaim my village." That voice got annoying real quick. "Yes, Connor, is she also under some kind of brainwashing? And now it's staring at me. What is it, Mother? I can't see it well enough," he said, squinting at Kaelin, who looked horrified. This is just a man, Connor. Like your father." She spoke in a dull voice like she wasn't really all there. "Oh, I'm tired of hearing about him. Besides, he's nothing at all like father. Look at him breathing and not dying in the slightest. I could change that, mind you. Man, I'm going to slap this child. Connor, I beg you, don't hurt anyone." The Al-Assar begged. "You know what? I'm going to slap her too." "Mother, what's happening? Where am I?" It seems like Connor hasn't given up the fight. Good on him. I'm still going to slap him though. Thank the Maker. Connor, can you hear me? No, lady. Damn. You can clearly see he's not okay. Why the hell are you celebrating? Get away from me, fool woman. You are beginning to bore me. And he's back. Maker's breath. What has happened here? Oh, Kaelin, the feck does it look like? Please, don't hurt my son. He is not responsible for what he does. Oh, I see. I guess we should just leave and let all this continue. Boy's clearly possessed, spoke Theron. He had a spell at the ready if something went down. He wasn't going to get caught flat-footed. I looked over to Ayla, who was crouching her legs getting ready to strike. Good. She's learning. No, don't say that. The Al-Assar screamed in distraught. So, the boy has become an abomination and sundered the veil. I'm not sure if Morrigan sounded impressed or not, but now was not the time. Connor didn't mean to do this. It was that mage, the one who poisoned Aemon. He started all this. He summoned up this demon. Connor was just trying to help his father. Wow, that is one weak-ass rebuttal. And made a deal with the demon to do so. Foolish child. I elbowed Morrigan. She gave me a glare, but I gave her a disappointed look, causing her to back down. It was a fair deal. Father is alive, just as I wanted. Now it's my turn to sit on the throne and send out armies to conquer the world. Nobody tells me what to do anymore. This is one weak-ass demon. The most dangerous thing it did was make an undead horde that was taken down by like 30 people, and yeah, I was there with my own golem army, but in the game, they did the same thing. Nobody tells him what to do. Nobody. Okay, well, Tegan is clearly out of it, no help there. Quiet, uncle. I warned you what would happen if you kept shouting. Didn't I? Yes, I did. But let's keep things civil. This man will have the audience he seeks. Tell us, what have you come here for? I came to talk to Aemon, but now that I see this, it's clear that I need to help the people here. Kaelin spoke in a calm whisper. He was filled with anger, but he couldn't attack his younger cousin. Ayla, have your book ready, I whisper to her. So, you're a concerned well-wisher. Why didn't you say that in the first place? All the sneaking around and killing is so unnecessary. But father is so very ill. We really shouldn't disturb him, isn't that right, mother? Just for a moment, Connor came through the demon's grip. I don't think. Of course, you don't. Ever since you sent the knights away you do nothing but deprive me of my fun. Frankly, it's getting dull. I crave excitement and action. This man ruined my sport by saving that stupid village, and now he'll repay me. The second he made a move to run, I slammed my foot into the ground, swallowing him, his mother, Tegan, and the mind-controlled guards up to their necks on the ground, stopping the fight that seemed about to take place. "What is this? Release me," the boy screamed, wiggling like a worm. "Yeah, how about no?" I replied, walking over to the boy. Human Warlock. Connor Guerin. Age 10. LVL3. HP 70/70ths. MP 40/40ths. Possessed 80/80ths. Street. He's a noble child. He has never lifted anything other than his silver spoon. Sometimes. V. He has people for that. Dex. He can make the maid touch his toes. Int. He made a deal with a demon. Wis. He didn't read the fine print on his warlock contract. Char. He's a little shit. Luck. None. Ailments. Deteriorating mental state. Possession. Contact your nearest cleric. Connor Guerin is the son of Al Ayman Guerin and Al Sar Azolda, nephew of Ban Tegan Guerin, and cousin to King Kaelan Terran. He is currently possessed by a desire demon. He's trapped within his own mind. He's begging for help. Great, there goes me just healing him, but it seems like maybe Ayla can do something. "Ayla, what you got?" I asked, circling the boy like a shark, making it focus on me. Every time I left its line of sight, it would start looking around trying to find me. It must have terrible eyesight. I have a spell that can exorcise the demon, but it's telling me that my magic core is too small for me to use. I click my teeth. Damn. That's annoying. Okay. I snapped my finger, changing into my lounging clothes, baggy shirt, sweatpants, and my pink fuzzy slippers. Resummoning my armor, I tossed it to her. "Put that on. It should give you a big enough boost to cast your spell." "Jack, Julia, can you help her?" They walked into an empty room. "Don't you think it will be a little too big for her?" asked Leliana, watching them leave. "Nah, most of my clothes have adjusting runes, making sure that whoever is wearing them would have a perfect fit," I explained. "Wouldn't that make them easier to steal? Seems like a design flaw," Morrigan pointed out. "It would be, if I didn't also add my security array." "And that is?" she asked, trying to get more information from me. "Wouldn't you like to know?" I teased. She just huffed. "Can Ayla truly save Connor?" asked Kaelan with a worried look on his face. I waved him down. The book wouldn't lie to her. She just needs more power. My armor has so many runes that increase my magic core as well as increase my mana regeneration. A simple spell like that should be no problem," I said, seating on a stone chair I made from the ground. "Who are you?" asked the Al Sar, looking at me like I was a monster. "What are you? Oh, now you ask questions. Not when you came running out of the castle to collect Tegan, who is now acting the jester, or maybe to ask about the villages, no. Now does seem like the best time, with you being neck deep in the ground, but if you must know. I'm Nunya. Nunya. None ya business," I finished with a smirk. I always wanted to say that to someone. Theron let out a chuckle. "I'm going to use that one day," he said. "Nick, please," begged Alistair. That pissed me off a little. Ever since Alistair was a young man, this woman made his life a living hell, and he was still trying to make peace with her. "Please what, Alistair?" "This woman decided to keep all this secret. How many people died here? How many children in the village have to now live without their mother or father? How many are now orphaned? And when was she going to do anything? When the undead marched throughout Ferelden, killing an untold amount of people?" I screamed at him, causing them all to go silent. My eyes glowing bright. "When do you put your foot down and say, enough is enough, Alistair? Is she going to go into that village and beg for their forgiveness for getting their families killed here today? Or is she just going to say, oh well, better luck next time, while on top of a horse, riding back to this castle acting as nothing happened?" I whirled to Kaelan, who flinched. "And what of you, mighty king? This woman is partly responsible for all the deaths in this castle, but also putting your uncles in danger. What will you do now? Are you going to let her go? Is this what you're going to be remembered for?" The mighty King Kaelan, happy to kill the peasants as long as the nobles are happy. "If that's the case, let's go get the Orlesians right now. They were happily killing your people, raping your women, stealing your dogs. You'll fit right in. I leaned back on my stone chair, allowing the silence to sit there. The world isn't a storybook, Kaylin. You don't get to just ride in on a griffin and save the day and fly into the sunset with a happily ever after. This blight is going to fuck up Ferelden hard. A lot of people are going to die and you're going to have to make choices. You're going to have to pick between what is easy and what is right, and you're going to have to live with that. I spoke at my normal volume, but I might as well be screaming at the top of my voice with how quiet it was. They just stood there in silence after my rant. I never did like the Arliss Sar. She was much too Orlesian in my Ferelden story. She only ever thought about herself and Connor while happily letting everyone else die. It took another 15 minutes of quiet before the girls came back with Ayla in my armor. "Nick, this armor's a bit snug," she complained, stretching out her body, testing the elasticity. "The helmet's super cool though. Why does everyone have a blue glow?" First of all, I didn't want someone to grab some loose garment and toss me around, so I kept it tight. "You heard that, Theron, Naisha. No capes." Theron snapped his fingers, and Naisha shrugged. "Second, the helmet has an IFF, identification friend-foe, rune. So, enemies come out with a red glow and allies have a blue glow, that way you don't make any mistakes in the mists of battle. That was one of my more impressive runes. Julie and I spent 2 nights writing out the path lines. Jackie was the first to test it. The first few worked, but used a lot of mana, so we had to add a mana absorption rune on top of the IFF, so it would have a constant supply of power. Now enough about my cool armor. Let's save this brat. I will destroy you. I will destroy your people and salt the earth of your home. None shall stop me," Connor screamed out. Ayla and I walked up to his head. Using earth bending, I raised the entire column of earth he was trapped in, leaving his head the only thing still free. Ayla opened her book, causing Connor to scream as if he has been burned. "Connor, what are you doing to my little boy? I'll have your heads for—" That was all the Arliss Sar got to say before I lowered her head a few more inches, covering her mouth. Now that that's out of the way, I nodded to Ayla to continue. She nodded back. The book glowed with holy power, causing Connor to hiss. She placed her hand on his head. "Be free of evil," she screamed, causing a blinding white light, making me look away. All we heard was Connor's scream as it changed from its creepy dual tone back into its normal prepubescent tone. When the light died out, we were left with a panting, confused Connor, looking around. "Wah, what's going on?" I gave him another look over. Human sorcerer. Connor Garin. Age 10. LVL 3. HP 70/70ths. MP 40/40ths. Street. He's a noble child. He has never lifted anything other than his silver spoon. Sometimes. V. He has people for that. Dex. He can make the maid touch his toes. Int. He made a deal with a demon. Wis. He didn't read the fine print on his warlock contract. Char. He's a little shit. Luck. None. Ailments. Weaken mental state. Connor Garin is the son of Arl Aemon Garin and Arliss Sar Azolda, nephew of Ban Tegan Garin, and cousin to King Cailan Terran. He's confused about why he's stuck in a pillar. "He's good," I said, releasing him, where he flopped around on the floor. Quest completed. Night of the Living Dead. The village of Redcliffe is being attacked by the undead. Find out why and put a stop to it. Rewards: 5 gold, 5,000 express, friendly with Redcliffe, 1 silver loot box. As that was happening, I walked over to Tegan, who was shaking his head, regaining his senses. "Tegan, how you feeling?" I asked, squatting to his level. "My head feels like someone used it as a mace." He then looked around. "Why am I in the floor?" "Let me get you out of there and then we'll explain," I said, popping him out of the ground and passed him to Duncan. As Tegan was given a quick rundown, I began releasing the other knights. By the time I got back to Tegan, he was steaming mad, pacing back and forward in front of the Arliss's head. I raised her head so she could talk. "Tegan, stop that man. He trapped me and hurt Connor," she screamed, looking at me. I gave her a bland look and instead of freeing her, I raised her in a pillar. So, where's Aemon? I asked her. We cleared this place of undead, but did not find him. And the demon made a deal with Connor to keep him alive, so I doubt it killed him. So, I'm guessing you placed him somewhere safe. His room most likely. She just glared at me. I won't let you get to Aemon, she hissed. I raised an eyebrow. Kaelin, that sounds like she's trying to stop me from healing the Arl. That sounds like treason, no? I asked out without looking away from the Arl Assar. Her eyes began to widen. Enough, I know where his room is. Please stop fighting with Isolde. My brother is still sick. Tegan ordered and started walking out of this mess and towards a room with huge double doors. Oh yeah, that looks like a door made for a king, or at least an Arl. The door was locked and not wanting to go back and get the keys from the Arl Assar, I decided to just make a hole next to the door, that way people don't get angry at me for breaking down an ancient door or whatever. Instead, I ruined an ancient wall that no doubt has been used for many years. In the center of the room was Aemon, laying on his bed like Sleeping Beauty. Human noble. Aemon Garin. Age 46. LVL 31. HP 290 420ths. MP 5/5. Street, he's bedridden. V, he's dying. Dex, he can't get out of bed. Int, he's a pretty good strategist. Wis, married and Orlesian right after a war with Orlais. Char, he's going to leave a good-looking corpse. Luck, has a wife that would do anything for his son. Ailments. Poisoned. Weak joint. High-powered curse. Hungry. Thirsty. Aemon Garin, born 8 to 84 blessed, is the Arl of Redcliffe. He is popular and holds a great deal of influence and support with the nobility and the Banon, enough to make himself be viewed as a threat by other powerful nobles. He is cursed by a desire demon, and can't be awakened without a high-level cleric or legendary healing artifact. He doesn't know you exist. Well, shit, he didn't look like he was losing health, but I don't think Ayla will be able to wake him, even with my suit. Maybe if I had more advanced runes, but that would take a long time. That and Andrast's ashes should be somewhere in the Frostback Mountains. Magic is weird. I mean, what exactly makes the ashes magic? Is it the belief of the people? No, don't think of that. That way leads to madness. I began to heal him. Slowly but surely, he was getting healthier and color returned to his face. By the end of my healing, he looked like he was ready to hop out of bed and back to work. He looks good as new, younger even, whispered Tegan with a shocked look on his face. Will he get up soon? I shook my head. He's still cursed. It seems like the demon overclocked its spell. Ayla, I asked Ayla if she could do anything. Maybe I'm wrong and my armor will be the tipping point allowing her spell to cure Aemon. She shook her head. I guess not. I don't know what the curse is. All the book tells me is that I need more knowledge on the curse. She looked disappointed in her inability to help. Does it tell you any other way for us to put this man back on his feet? I asked. She looked back into the book. Haven, what's that mean? Oh, it's a village. In the Frostbacks. It says we will find something there to lift the curse. Her disappointment quickly did a 180. New quest. Wakey wakey sleeping Arl Beauty. The Arl of Redcliffe is under a powerful curse forcing him into a coma. Find a way to return him to the land of the waking. Rewards, 35 gold, 7,000 express, 1 random rare skill, and 1 sliver loot box. The Frostback Mountains cover a large amount of land. Spoke Tegan. Is there any way to narrow down the search? I think it's showing me a map. I walked over to her and looked at the book over her shoulder. Lo and behold, it was a map. I pulled out my phone and took a quick picture. I guess we can just skip all that brother Genitavi nonsense. Okay, I'll place this photo in Mother Base and see if I can find a match, I spoke. I removed the poison, but you're going to need to feed and give him water. Can you do that? Tegan nodded. We used to do that when he was poisoned. I nodded at him and began walking back to the large dining hall with Ayla, allowing Alistair, Kalen, and Duncan some alone time with Tegan. Okay, I sighed. All right, everyone listen up. We cured the Arl of his poisoning, but the demon overpowered its curse, putting him in a coma. We gained the map to a location in which we will be able to gain a way to awaken him. We will be heading to the Frostbacks, to a small village by the name of Haven. Any questions? Why do we have to go get this object? Do we not come only for the ruler's soldiers? The ruler is not necessary. Sten stated, arms crossed with a huge frown. He's right, their king is here. Why do they not just follow him? Questioned Morrigan. Sten, you're about to do something that your people find monstrous. You're about to learn, to understand, to see another culture. Do you wish to continue? I asked. He only huffed and nodded. I guess he did come all the way to Ferelden for this. Ferelden is not the Coon. They are not ruled by three figures that control their whole government. It is a collection of people that came together through hardships and tribulations. Many of the nobles you meet once came from warriors that gained the loyalty of their people. These warriors became rulers, and these rulers came together and elected a king. One who will lead them, but the king needs the power of these warriors, these rulers, in order to use their people. This keeps the king from having overwhelming power, and the king keeps nobles from fighting against each other. If we let Aemon die by doing nothing, the other rulers will not follow. They will choose another to be king, and we will lose an army. Do you understand? Sten was quiet for a while and nodded. Morrigan just scoffed. Okay, all we need to do is wait for the guys to come out, and we'll head back to Mother Base and head out from there. What's Mother Base? Ayla asked. Oh yeah, forgot about you. Theron and Naisha looked over at her with twin smirks. You're not scared of heights, right? Naisha asked. Ayla just gave her a non-committal shrug. // By the Maker's glowing butt cheeks, Ayla whispers, looking up at Mother Base. She was back in civilian clothing. Why do you have this? Is walking not enough? Nope, walking's for chumps. Huge flying pieces of earth are all the rage nowadays, I joked. Naisha shoved her elbow against my thigh. Don't even joke about that. Next thing you know, there's going to be hundreds of flying rocks, and every dwarf in Orzammar will die of constantly saying, I told you so, forgetting to breathe. She joked. I laughed. I'd pay to see that. Come on, we'll take an elevator up to the top floor and get you settled in, I said, helping her bring up her belongings. It wasn't a lot, barely 3 bags. She was a farmer. I did leave some earth golems with her mother to help with the farm though. Right now, it was only Ayla, Jackie, Julie, Theron, Naisha, Dogmeat, who was sitting on Ayla's lap, and I. No one else wanted to ride with us back in the car. Their loss. Getting Ayla settled was easier than I thought. She seems to take the idea of living on a flying island better than everyone else. She was sitting on my lazy boy looking over her book. She must have found the dimmer because it no longer flashed me when she opened it. I was placing the picture I had and having the globe map find where Haven would be. It helped that the map the Maker gave Ayla had the classic, "You are here," and "Haven is here" instructions. It barely took 15 minutes for the globe map to show an aerial view of a small village located in the Frostbacks. A percentage of 97 showed me that this small village was most likely Haven. The timer told me that it would only take about a day, so a day to get there and 1 to get back. I looked at the hologram, finding the time. 12:30, I'll make lunch. Everyone else should be here in about an hour, as long as they don't run into any problems. Ellipsis. I just jinxed myself. I sighed. Best not to worry about that for now. Ayla, Naisha, Theron, you guys want anything specific for lunch? They shook their heads. Ayla had her face deep in her book. Theron was looking through our DVD collection, and Naisha was resting on Jackie's lazy boy. Hamburgers it is. Jackie, Julie, I'm making lunch. What do you want for dessert? Making dessert for lunch sounded weird, but the J family had sweets for every meal. Cheesecake, came Julie's and Jackie's voices from their rooms as they were putting away their armor. I smirked and walked into the kitchen. I made just over 15 burgers and 1 cheesecake for the girls, and another 40 for everyone else yet to arrive. I put them in my inventory, that way they stayed fresh. Theron and Naisha ate with wild abandonment, shoving burger after burger down the gullet. Poor Ayla was trying to eat and guard her food against their grasping hands at the same time. It didn't help that Dogmeat was next to her waiting for her to let down her guard. I was smart. I placed myself between Jackie and Julie, so if the hungry Jewel tries to reach anywhere near me, Jackie would send a small bolt of lightning, making him back away. Ayla, honey sweetie baby, you're doing it wrong. She gave me a confused look. What you need is a buffer, something that will make them second guess the idea of taking from your plate. Use that big brain in your head. What is around you that can guard you and your food? Ferelden is famous for them. I hinted. She looked over at Dogmeat, who was looking directly at her. But he also wants my food. Yes, but by giving him a little bit of food and having him protect you from these hungry wardens, you would only lose a little bit of food compared to most of it. It's all about how much you're willing to give away and how much you trust Dogmeat not to betray you. I mean, look at me. I'm giving up my cheesecake slice to Jackie and Julie to keep those two at bay. I said, pointing at the two next to me, as Jackie shocked Theron's hand away. I don't even think he felt that. Ayla gave Dogmeat a long stare. You guard me against those two and I give you a quarter of my food. She bribed. Dogmeat whined. Only a quarter? If you do good you are, and maybe. I'll think of adding more in future deals. Dogmeat chuffed and moved to her left, blocking her and more importantly her food from the warden's wandering hands. And now you have learned the wonderful art of the compromise. This is how things are done in the upper echelon of life. Best get used to them. With you being the cleric of the Maker, and if you survive this blight, a lot of people in high society are going to want to meet you, not only the assassins that the Chantry will send. I taught her. No, really, my teaching skills express began to rise. Do you really think that the Chantry will send assassins? She asked, a little worried. I shrugged. The Chantry is an old, well-established organization. They have been around for a long time and they do have the power to make an exalted march and attack anyone who displeased them. I wouldn't put it past someone in the organization to try and kill you to make them look good for killing a false prophet. Don't worry. I doubt they'll send someone this early. They need to know if you first, and that would probably take a few months. And after confirming, any rumors will probably wait and see if the blight kills you. If you survive the blight, they will probably send Templars to try and bring you to a circle of Maggie and lock you away and never see you again. But if you reject their attempt, they're going to order the Templars to kill you and make it seem like you were an abomination and write you off. The best thing you can do right now is become stronger. That way, even if they do come for you, they would be no match. Like myself, do you have any idea how many Templars it would take to even reach me? And that's before they would have to get through an army of golems made to resist their Templar powers. And let's not forget the fact that I'm on a flying island that has defenses of its own. No, it would be stupid to try. But they're not very smart, to begin with. I might have to make an example in the future. That's only if I don't make a big enough splash during the blight. If I show some of my power here, they would second-guess their plans. The same goes for you. She gave me a confused look. We will no doubt run into a lot of wild things out here. If you are able to fix them, and gain the people's approval, it would work against the Chantry to attack you. Don't worry though, you'll always have a home here. If it feels like it's too much, we could travel the world and leave Thedas behind. She just took a bite of her burger and nodded. Thank you, she whispered. She gave the last of her food to Dogmeat, who ate it without a moment of hesitation. It took 3 episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or about an hour, for everyone to arrive at the base. It's kinda funny, all the actors that were once human were now switched out for their fantasy doubles. Jake was an elf, Terry was a Kunari, and Captain Holt was the same. But everything was shifted into a fantasy setting. It looked a lot like the City of the Broken Mountain. I loved it. I think the gamer's system made it simpler to explain it to people. Or maybe this show existed somewhere in the multiverse and I guess that's the one I bought. Are you sure these beings can't see us? Ayla whispered to me, like if she spoke too loudly the actor on the TV would hear us. I rolled my eyes. You're fine, this is just a recording. When you read a book, the people in him can't see you right. It's kinda the same thing, I explained. We're back, we heard Alistair scream out as he walked into the house. Good to see you made it unharmed. We have a destination, I said, pointing at the globe map which Duncan and Kalen looked over. And I have lunch, I said, pulling out the leftover burgers, passing them to Morrigan. So, the wardens can swarm her and not me. She defiantly gave me the stink eye. I smirked at her as I walked over to Duncan and Kalen at the control deck. I'm initiating the engines, we should be there within tomorrow morning. I looked at Kalen, who had a disgruntled look on his face. What's wrong, Kalen? You seem upset. You could have released the Arless Sar from the Earth Pillar. Kalen grumped. And she could have not nearly killed an entire village in sheer stupidity. Guess we didn't get what we wanted. She just didn't want to have to give up her son, my younger cousin. Her and many others, no doubt. The only difference was that she was a noble. Kalen became silent. After a moment, he released a long breath. Can we agree to disagree? I shrugged. This is your kingdom, rule however you wish. Just try and be aware of your actions. They might come up behind you when you least expect it. I warned. Ayla, we're about to take off. Do you want to see us lift? I called out. Yes, she screamed out, coming into the control deck. I began tapping runes. Destination set. We'll arrive in Haven by tomorrow afternoon, I told the men next to me. Come on, Shrimpy, let's see if you're scared of heights. Your face is scared of heights. As it turns out, she loves heights. Unlike Alistair and Naisha, Ayla walked right up to the edge and looked down at the ground as we got higher and higher. She had the biggest smile on her face when she turned to look at me. I told her that I was going to help teach her how to read. She of course denied her illiteracy, but she folded real quick when I tested her. We would study every other day for 2 hours, as long as we were not on a mission. I spent most of the day in my armory working on Naisha's and Theron's battle armor. It was easier than making my own. Following my previous design, making them was simple. All I had to do was change some runes from mana to stealth, and bam. Ninja suit. Of course, I didn't sleep that night, but it was worth it. My crafting skill ranked up to advance, giving me the perk +1. +1, just that extra touch. Now any item you make has a +1 to whatever rank it might have been. This will change something from novice to intermediate and so on, but be aware that you cannot make something over expert until you reach expert rank in crafting. Okay, so if I make a pair of boots at advanced level, it would go up to expert, but if I somehow make an expert ranked level boots, the perk won't work. That's overpowered as hell. It was Julie who came into my workroom to remind me that we would reach Haven in half an hour. Everyone was upstairs in the living room eating some of the rations I kept in the kitchen for emergencies. Good morning, I called out. Theron, Naisha, I have your armor and I'll make our lunch. Hopefully, this will be a quick in and out quest and we'll be heading back to Redcliffe before we know it. But as we know, it wasn't. We left the dogs behind to guard the base. Everything went pretty good until Kalen found the bodies in the only shop in the tiny village, which led to us fighting an army of cultists leading up to the church on the hill, where Father Eric was giving a sermon of some kind. After a few quick words about how Andrishta has been reborn, he unleashed his fellow cultist on us, which ended as well as you would expect would happen, when barely armed cultists attacked heavily armed weirdos. That's when we found Brother Genitavi tied up and injured. After healing him and having him stay behind for his own protection, he told us all about how this was the final place of the ashes of Andrishta. We began to enter the cave system, finding our first male drake. That thing was well over 5 feet and 300 pounds. Of course, with Theron's and Naisha's new armor combined with Jack's, Julie's, and my armor, we made quick work of any dragon stupid enough to attack us. I could hear Alistair's jealousy. How many damn dragons live in this mountain? Screamed Ayla, as she slammed her mace over the head of another dragon, turning its brains into mush. I of course have been placing every corpse in my inventory. Can let drake leather go to waste. They're drakes, not dragons. Dragons have wings. I corrected, punching a drake so hard that its skull caved in. Thank you, enhancement runes. Through your hard work and effort, your fisticuff skill has ranked up. Fisticuffs, rank novice. All unarmed attacks now do 20% more damage. That's nice. I didn't really want to use a sword or anything like that. I keep thinking that it is going to be parried out of my hands and fly all the way across the room, having me somehow get to it in a dangerous life and death situation. My fist though, they will always be on me, especially with Gamer's body allowing me to regrow limbs overnight, which it won't come to that because I have my kick-ass armor. Another drake came up behind me, but Sten had my back. Focus. The battle is yet to be over, he warned. He was right. What I would give to have more space. The cave system was a little too small for me to spawn my golems. I already made a few as the vanguard to kill any drakes they came across, and to their credit, they killed a fair few, but the problem with these little bastards was the fact that they kept coming out of the walls. I would earth bend their holes shut, but I don't know if that would cause a cave-in. It's one thing to change a cave system in a dungeon, it's another to change one in real life. For the Maker shall strike you down, Ayla shouted, summoning an astral mace that also started smacking drakes around. After 15 more dead drakes, they finally got the message that these guys are no joke. Anyone not in one of my armors were huffing after that battle. I began walking around healing everyone, most were just fine. Duncan had a nasty gash over his shoulder, but it was nothing I couldn't heal. Okay, everyone take a break. I'll summon more golems and send them farther down the cave in 10 minutes. I said, making myself a stone chair. Nick, these suits are awesome. Did you see me? I bet you didn't. I was bouncing around all over the walls. My daggers broke, but that barely slowed me down. My fists just went right through them. Naisha proclaimed shadow boxing. Naisha's armor focused more on movement and durability, as well as sticking runes, physical enhancement, and an IFF. I gave her bootlegged Spider-Man powers. My spells were most powerful, Theron commented, flexing his hands. I made his armor similar to Jackie's, made for magic. I put mana regen, magic enhancement, movement speed, and an IFF. I made the armor itself into a makeshift staff, so he wouldn't have to worry about it being broken or disarmed. When will I get my super armor? Asked Morrigan, with her arms crossed. I guess Alistair wasn't the only one who was jealous. I'll make you some armor, only, and I mean only after you become friends with Alistair, will I give you your own armor. She gave me the unhappiest face I have ever seen. That's not fair, the dwarf and elf got one because they asked. She pointed out. And just for that, you have to become friends with Naisha and Theron before you get one. Naisha, Theron, can you please come to me if you think she deserves one? Alistair, you only get one when you admit, on your knees, that you were always jealous and always wanted one. I stated. That's petty, muttered Alistair. You better believe it. I'm already thinking about what to put on his armor. Definitely some sort of overclock power runes. What about you, Sten? You want some armor? Maybe add some runes to Asala. He shook his head. I do not want to sully my body or weaponry with foul magic. I shrugged. To each their own. Leliana, Duncan, Kalen, Aiden, Ayla. You guys want any? I asked. They all nodded. Oh yeah, after Face Musha, I would love a matching outfit, Ayla said, waving around her mace. Morrigan gave her an unimpressed look. Face Musha, really? Are you not the Maker's chosen? Can you not name your weapon something more intimidating? Snarked Morrigan. Ayla shrugged. It's a mace. It mushes faces. I don't see the problem, she said, waving her mace like an overexcited child showing off a new toy. Please don't swing that around. I like this kid, but she's going to give someone a concussion one of these days. Okay, enough resting, time to find us some dead woman's ashes. You don't have to make it sound like that, said Leliana. Sorry, let's go disturbing a woman's final resting place. I reiterated. She sighed. That's probably the best I'm getting from you. Answer, it was. I sent out more golems out in front of us taking care of any cultists or drakes that were out in the open, and we handle any that jumped out of the walls. This continued until we reached a large cavern with a cultist calling a truce. I am Father Colgrim and I wish for the violence to stop. I'm willing to compromise, he said, holding his hands in the universal sign of surrender. Really, a truce? A truce works best when both sides are equally matched. We have been mowing down anything we've come across with little difficulty. I stated. I was on guard, not trusting this guy for a second. That was the weakest of the flock. The strongest is just ahead, but I wish to stop the violence, and ask for a favor, in exchange for the power Our Lady Andrishta has bestowed upon us. The power of the Reaver. That caught some of our attention. We would want you to pour this blood on the old body of our beloved reborn Andrishta, allowing our new Andrishta to regain all her power. Please take a moment to talk amongst yourselves, you will come to the right decision. He backed away, moving out of sword range. Yeah, no, that guy's crazy, I whispered to the group. Yeah, most high dragons don't like sycophants, they tend to make wild claims in their name. Jason had to beat up a bunch of crazies who tried to use Laura as a figurehead of their religion, added Julie. Everyone who didn't know about Laura gave her a confused look. Who's Laura, a dragon expert or something? Asked Alistair. Julie shook her head. No, she's a dragon, and my brother's wife. Everyone kept looking at her like she was crazy. I sighed and showed him a picture of Jason and Laura from the baby shower. This person looked just like a Runbez, commented Morrigan as she looked at the picture. I swiped to the right, showing Laura transforming into her dragon form. How are you sure she isn't just a powerful mage? It's cute how you think you know anything about dragons, you know, since you lived in the woods in the ass end of nowhere, Jackie commented. But trust us on this, she's a dragon. That made Morrigan's eyebrow twitch. This is extremely interesting, but we need to make a choice here. Spoke up Aiden. We can't possibly be considering this, can we? Leliana asked, a bit worried. And why not? If what he says is true, we could gain great power to fight the Blight. Morrigan countered. Because, you tiny mudkip, those guys obviously gonna betray us. I mean, look at him. They all looked over at Colgrim. He crazy. Clearly Morrigan didn't know what a mudkip was, but her frown was pretty telling. The moment we do what he wants, he's going to try and kill us. I say we kill him now and deal with the dragon, maybe we can convince her to leave. You could convince a dragon to leave? Skeptically asked Theron. Jason was able to seduce one. How hard could it be? I countered. Yes, but Jason looks like an extremely good-looking man, you're not much compared to him. Teased Naisha. My, aren't you sassy today? I countered her. It's the armor. I feel invincible. That inflated my blacksmithing ego. Focus, hissed Jack. In all actuality, Nick is probably right, but look at it this way, if the dragon does want to kill us, you guys are gonna get practice on killing large dragons. Duncan, Kalen, any input? I asked. Kalen had a crunched up thinking face. What if we say we're going to do it, and then, not? Kalen answered. Genius, Theron said. Kalen looked extra proud. That is quite ingenious, but I'm quite certain he heard us. Duncan pointed out as more cultists began appearing. How many of these guys are there? I guess we're fighting, I spoke. I used dash getting right next to Colgrim, and sucker punched him so hard his head exploded, covering me in gore. The cultist next to him was shocked at the sudden death of his leader, but he didn't get to think about it much as Naisha slammed her fist to his head, snapping his neck and killing him instantly. The battle went just as expected. The cultists were no match for our steel, and any drakes that got too close were devastated by spells from our mages. We made quick work of them, mostly because I could use more of my golems. After collecting all the drake corpses, we followed the far tunnel all the way out to a large naturally formed gorge on the outside of the mountain. Okay, so before the dragon shows up, how are you going to talk to it? Asked Alistair. We can't, not yet anyway. No dragon worth its hoard would ever talk to beings that can't fly. At least not like an equal, more like a toy. Jackie answered. Okay, so what do we do? Asked Leliana. We bring her down and disable its ability to fly, only then will it think of parleying, Jack spoke. Or at least that's what Jason said when he was dating Laura, but now that I think about it, Laura couldn't fly before. She hummed, tapping her chin. Oh, your brother laid her low all right. I chuckled. Ayla gave me a confused look. What are you talking about? She asked. Nick, I'm confident, but not that confident, Theron said. Don't worry, if she doesn't want to talk, we can just take her down. You make it sound so easy. And why has it not attacked? Alistair commented, looking out of the cave for a flying lizard. She's probably waiting for us to reach the center, that way we can't escape, Duncan answered. Duncan's right, so before we go in there and kick Major Dragon Tail, we need a plan, I stated, waving everyone closer into a group huddle. First things first, we're going to have to force her onto the ground, obviously. Some of us need to keep the drakes at bay. When they see their queen fall, they will come running. Jackie added. Yeah, Laura hated drakes. They would follow her around trying to mate with her. She, of course, killed any that was stupid enough to try. We haven't run into any eggs yet, so maybe the dragon isn't at breeding age. Julie shrugged. When are dragons considered of age? Asked Morrigan. Julie shrugged again. Depending on the dragon species, some reach maturity sooner than others. Laura is a gold dragon and only reached her maturity at the young age of 100. Julie answered. 100, how is that young in any way? Alistair demanded. Most dragons are rumored to live well over a millennium. Alistair had a shocked look on his face from the information Julie just said. That's not important, spoke Sten. What do we do after we bring her down to the ground? Thank you, Sten. After we take her to the ground, I'll bury her with my earthbending. At that point she would have no other choice. Kaelin, Theron, Julia, Duncan, Morrigan, can you guys keep the drakes at bay? I asked. They nodded, if a bit reluctant on Kaelin's part. All right, any more questions? What happens if we defeat all the drakes? Kaelin clearly didn't like that he was being left out on the dragon fighting. If that happens, and we're still fighting, join us. If we are having trouble. Just jumping in while we are fighting as a team could cause us to lose our battle focus, and that can get someone killed. I warned. Kaelin just nodded. Any more? What's our formation? Asked Sten. I looked over to Aiden, who had a calculating look on his face. We're going to need to gain her attention. We don't want her to go after the people holding back the drakes. Nick, I'm going to need you to make tall pillars for Leliana to use to keep its attention on us. Leliana, your job is to keep it from focusing on our backup, so you'll be all over the place doing hit and run tactics. Can you do that? She nodded, checking her arrows. Alistair, Sten, Naisha, and I will meet it on ground level. Jack, you will have to give us covering fire and protect Nick as he buries the dragon. Ayla, you're going to provide support. Don't engage unless necessary. But all this could only work if you can bring her down, Nick. Otherwise, she'll just burn us from the air. Can you bring her down? I nodded. I'll make earth golems and then launch them at her wings. I'll have to wait until she gets close, but I can do it. I reassured him. Okay, we all know what we're doing. We can't make any mistakes, Aiden stated, and we all nodded. With everyone understanding their roles, the vanguard team moved out of the cave. Nothing happened until we reached the center of the gorge, when we heard a bone-rattling roar. From above us came a dragon with a silver coat. High Dragon. Sky Skipper, Andrishta. Age 140. LVL 52. HP 2000. MP 1604,000. Street, she a dragon. V, she loves a good fly-by. Dex, she's a bit chunky, she's had people getting food for her. Int, why should I land when I can roast them from up here? Whis, maybe having land walkers get me food has made me lazy. Nah. Char, her scales shine like silver. Luck, Drakes won't leave her alone. Ailments. Bloated. Mental degradation, she's acting on pure instincts, minus 60% to MP. Weakness. Wing membranes. Skull. Fractured left wing. The dragon was nothing like in the game, all she did was strafing runs forcing us to hunker down. Following the plan, I started summoning large earth golems from my inventory and launching them at the dragon. It wasn't until my 6th golem that I got her. She landed with a terrible crash. My golem morphed into chains and locked itself around her wings, forcing her ground side. She started shaking and dancing around trying to break free. Left wing, I screamed. Sky Skipper actually paused at my voice and looked over at me only for a moment. That distraction cost her. Jackie unleashed a high-powered lightning bolt into her wing, causing her to roar in pain. She swung her tail at me. Seeing it coming, I rose an earth pillar, but that didn't slow the attack much. You have been struck by Sky Skipper for 120 points of blunt damage, which has lain you prone. Armor mitigates 90% of damage. You have taken 12 points of blunt damage and are lain prone. Feck, I coughed out. I can't wait for my rune crafting skill to reach master rank. Runes like those can do anything. The only reason my armor can take so much damage is that I empowered them, but it takes either 10 minutes to recharge or nearly a quarter of my MP. View the Maker's Light. Ayla screamed, unleashing an extremely bright light right into the dragon's face, blinding her. Sten, get ready, screamed Aiden as he slashes her left leg and running out of range of her mouth. Didn't stop her from trying to get some fresh warden meat. In her moment of distraction, Sten came from the right, making a nasty gash on her chest. This caused her to unleash a wild spread of dragon frost, causing everyone to back off. I eat you all, she screamed, only to be struck in the rump by Leliana's arrows. On instinct, she swung her tail wildly, trying to strike her. At that moment, I earth bent her back right foot into the ground, knocking her off balance. She looked at her leg in confusion. I followed that up with her right front leg, completely tripping her onto her injured ribs. Alistair ran in and cut her wing membranes and retreated to a safe distance. Naisha, on the other hand, came at full speed, using the power enhancement built into her armor, breaking her left wing in a single blow. Her scream was so loud that it caused the drakes that were giving our backup trouble to run back into the caves. I used that moment to summon a single 20-foot golem made of earth to just lay on her. I then used that earth golem to bury her up to her neck. I then dropped to the ground. Feck, me moving the earth wasn't a problem. Fighting her into the ground took up almost all my CP. You food, I eat you, she roared, trying to escape her earthly tomb. Clearly whatever caused the mental degradation lowered her IQ quite a bit. My translation rune built into my armor should make her language into something I could understand, but her speaking skills need some polishing. With the drakes on the run, our backup regrouped with us. Is she talking? Asked Naisha. Oh, right, I haven't had time to explain all her or Theron's suit's functions. You speak correct, but wrong, she hissed. What is you? My name's Nick Walters and I heard a cough from Jackie. We have bested you. If you let us pass, I shall heal you. I break out. Eat you, she said, looking right at me. Man, she is not happy. Wait, can you guys understand it? Alistair asked. I shushed him. Because I have you in my earthly grasp. Without me your wing will heal incorrectly. She gave a deep growl. Without your ability to fly, you will starve. I'm your only choice, me or death. They pass, you stay, no run. Heal, she grunted. Whoa, whoa, there big girl, he's with us. Jackie intervened. What's happening? Asked Duncan. The dragon wants Nick to stay behind while we go on, whispered Theron, not liking that arrangement. Why do we not just kill it now? It is injured and trapped. It's a perfect time. Sten stated. Morrigan nodded next to him. Because, Leliana pointed to the gorge's edges, which was filled with drakes waiting for the dragon to escape or die so they could swoop in and attack. I think the dragon is the only thing keeping him back. Very well, I answered. Everyone looked at me like I was crazy. I stay, they go, but I won't finish healing you until they return. She huffed in annoyance. None ever return. They will. Do we have a deal or not? I shouted. She growled. One day, they not return, you heal. Leave. I looked over to the group, to Julie and Jackie. They both nodded. Very well, we are in agreement. I nodded. Nick, Kaylin called out. I raised my hand and shook my head. This is the best we're going to get. If there's a back exit, take it and give me a call. I'll heal her and meet you at Mother Base. I ordered. Kaylin furled his brow, darkening his eyes, but nodded. I then summoned 10 of my steel golems to keep a lookout for any drakes that might get any ideas. As they walked into the temple, I walked over to the dragon's head from behind. Didn't want her to try and take a bite, or roast me. I'm not going to lie. I had another reason to not kill this dragon. In Inquisition, the Inquisitor was able to gain the loyalty of a dragon that fought off the corrupted pet of Corypheus, and having a dragon on my side sounded pretty sweet. Healing her was pretty simple. We barely gave her a good beating. In fact, if it wasn't for her pre-injured wing, we would have been in for a long fight. With all our fighting, we only took off 800 horsepower. How did you hurt your wing before the fight? I asked. She gave me a growl. The silent treatment, hum. You have beautiful scales. That caught her attention. She moved one of her large eyes to look at me. It's true, I have only seen one other dragon, and her golden scales were nowhere near this shiny and, bright. She huffed. Yes, mine the goodest. She gave me what I could only assume was a smug dragon smirk. I wash every day, best shine. I smirked. Dragon, tiefling, human, it doesn't matter. All ladies like being complimented on their hard work. It shows. You took my breath away. Mostly because you slammed me with your tail. But who's asking? She huffed again, giving me a nod. I guess she's a bit vain. So, will you tell me what happened to your wing? She became silent again. I was about to give up on this line of questioning. The Earthwalkers, she spoke. Is she talking about the cultists? Attack me when resting. They do not like when I leave. I kill many, they not attack again, but I not fly. I must heal. Then you come and broke wing. She growled at me. Oops. Well, if it means anything, I'm sorry, but we needed to get into that temple. I apologized. Did you also get hit in the head by any chance? Maybe that's where she got the mental problems. She squinted at me. No, head not hurt. So, she didn't get a hit to the noggin. Then, why does she have mental problems? Could it be the veil? Is the separation of the realm of magic affect dragons as it did the elves? Is that why dragons outside of Thedas are more intelligent? Were the old dragon gods of Tevinter just ancient dragons stuck behind the veil trying to get someone to rip open the veil to escape? Did their escape cause the blight? Or did that wake the blight? According to some theories, the blight existed long before the veil. With the first blight raging for over 100 years, the Darkspawn had a long time to become a major power. These are a lot of theories with no answers, and there's no way for me to answer them anytime soon, if ever. My power tells me that your head is injured. I'm going to heal that, okay? She gave me a huff. You heal. Agreement. I mean, you had brain damage before our fight, but whatever. I was actually curious about what she will be like with full mental functionality. Healing her was no problem. My healing hands skill was at advanced rank. Add that with my medic skill, and every ailment was reduced by 60%. It still caused me 2000 MP. Thank God for runes, otherwise, I would never be able to heal her. At first, nothing happened. She just looked at me for a long while. You landwalkers are very strange. Whoa. That was a full, non-broken sentence. How do tiny things like you survive? You do not have beautiful strong scales like me. You soft and squishy. Is it because you taste disgusting? You two legs all taste disgusting. You cannot fly, so you must run after your food. Do you not get tired? You're so small and weak. She started asking questions. I'm pretty sure that's one of the first signs of intelligence, right? We beat you, didn't we? She gave me a long look as if trying to look into my soul. Yes, she hissed out. How did you do this? You are small and not very strong. Okay. Ouch. Last I checked, I buried you in the earth. To be fair, I did have help. For me to take a high dragon on my own would be one hell of a challenge. I see. To defeat me you needed more of you. More land walkers. Many land walkers, powerful together. She hissed out her answer. But I am Sky Skipper. I am bigger than all of you, even on the land. How did you defeat me? Even the weak males were also here, but they also failed to defeat you. How? We were just better skilled. You are used to winning and not fighting. Anything you ever come up against was just weak. Easy to kill and eat. We, land walkers, can't fly, so we must fight anything that wishes us harm. This was weird. Talking to a dragon on why it couldn't kill us was a new experience. You're saying you're strong because you can't fly. Are you calling me weak? She growled. I shook my head. No, you are strong, but we are stronger. Most high dragons work alone, but we land walkers work in groups. If high dragons worked together, they would be unstoppable. She hummed at my words. Impossible. Sisters are annoying. They only think of themselves. How they think their scales are more beautiful than mine. They're crazy. Mine's the most beautiful. I guess family can be kinda annoying throughout all species. Oh, tell me all about how you make your scales all shiny and beautiful. I doubt I was going to get my cool dragon bodyguard today, but I could at least distract her long enough for my team to get the ashes and get to Mother Base. And so it was. Sky would tell me how she got every one of her silver scales to shine, which lasted well over 2 hours. I then asked her how she got to the Frostback Mountains, and she went on a long story on how when she reached about 75 and got tired of how her mother and sisters would annoy her, making her leave the nest behind. It was actually a little interesting. It gave me a slight insight into how dragon families work, at least here in Southern Thedas. Most dragons tend to stick together until their family annoyances drove them apart, well, at least according to Sky. I still couldn't tell if it was the veil that affected them or if it was something else, but according to Sky, her sisters acted just like her before my healing. In fact, she was confused about why they fought all the time. It seems with her mental health at an all-time high, she is looking back into her memories and reviewing her life. This went on for another hour before I got a call on my phone. By the power of Grey Skull, I muttered, it's about time. Sky became quiet, looking over at me. One moment. Hello, Nick here. Talk to me. Nick, called out Julie. Oh, thanks Super Gramps, she muttered. Super Gramps? Is that her grand's father, the ruler of the Underland? I wouldn't put it past this family. There was a back exit and we're on Mother Base waiting for you. I read you loud and clear. I'll heal Sky and meet you there. Sky? Is that her name? It's cute. Sky stuck her nose in the air with a sense of pomp. See you at base. I hung up the phone. Well, you heard her. It's time I fulfill my side of the bargain and leave you be. I resummoned my golem and placed them in my inventory. Best not leave them behind. The healing of her wing was easy compared to her previous mental state. So, you shall leave now, she whispered. Yep, I'll be on my way. I was planning to dig my way down and out. Before I was worried about causing a cave-in because I could have buried the rest of the team, but now that I was alone, I could just make myself a smaller tunnel out of here, or I could use an earth wave to travel quickly over land. She gave me a long look. I could help you out of here, if you wish, she said. Ah, that's not necessary. I didn't want to freak out everyone at Mother Base. Don't worry, it is no trouble. Oh, she's not good at taking a no for an answer. I released a sigh. Okay, thank you. I got myself ready for anything. She might betray me and try to kill me. I placed the golem that was holding her down into my inventory. She then stood up to her full size and gave herself a good shake, knocking loose any dirt on her. She looked at her dirty scales and gave me a look. Allah, help you clean him, I said, pathetically. She just released a long hot breath in my face. You best. She then proceeded to grab me in her large hand and take off into the sky. I kinda hoped to ride on her back, but I guess that was a bit too much. It took us less than 15 minutes to get to Mother Base. To say that everyone was on full alert was an understatement. Mother Base was on full alert, its shields were at full power and the Kyber cannon was powering up. I patted Sky and pointed at the ground away from Mother Base. My security system was made to focus on anything that was heading in its direction. By moving off course away from the base, the cannons would stop targeting you. Of course, the cannon still followed us, indicating that someone is using the cannon manually. Probably Julie, she's a crack shot. I called Jack over the phone and told her that I was going to bring the dragon to base for cleaning. She just sighed at my antics, muttering something about not being able to say no to a lady. Sky and I walked the rest of the way back to base. Well, she walked, I had to wave ride. We made a good time. It only took us about 5 minutes. I parked Mother Base in the forest for cover. I made the excuse about how I didn't want to freak anyone out, but in truth, I knew they were going to be cultists and I didn't want to tip them off. Jack, Kalen, and Duncan were outside underneath Mother Base looking at us walking by. Julie was no doubt at the weapon controls, waiting for a reason. "So, what's all this about?" questioned Jack, looking Sky up and down. Sky squinted at Jack, not liking her attitude. Yeah, squint all you like. But don't forget where you're at. Before we were in your domain, now you're in mine. Ah, this is I didn't even get to finish as she turned her gaze to me. Boy, did she look angry. Shut your mouth. Do you have any idea how scared I was? An annoying ghost talked shit to me today and I had to undress to my underwear to walk through fire. And the whole time I was worried that you might be fighting this overgrown lizard to the death. She was huffing and puffing after her rant. Ah, dip. I walked up to her and gave her my biggest hug, wrapping her up in all the warmth I could provide. She hugged me back. We stood like that for a few seconds before she let go and lightly pushed me back. She seems to calm down. So, can you tell me what's she doing here? She demands I clean her up, after we made her all dirty. They all gave me a strange look. Look, I wasn't going to say no. She's a huge dragon and I buried her in the earth. She wouldn't chase after me and the only thing I have to do is clean her, okay? Not many dragons allow people to clean him, commented Duncan. Try none, added Kalen, looking up at the 25-foot dragon. Well, I'm special. Just be careful, dragons could get possessive. Laura almost fought Mom thinking she was going to take Jason away, and this. Sky looks like she is trying to keep you, she said, looking Sky in the eye who was looking back at her. You hear that? This idiot's mine. Go find your own. Yours? I smirked at her. She glared at me. Shut your mouth. If she thinks you already belong to someone she might back off. I don't know why you're worried. She's like 25 feet tall and I'm 6 feet 3. I doubt she'll want me. At that moment a bright light blazed behind me. Not feeling danger sense go off, I slowly turned, finding a semi-kunari woman standing 7 feet 2 with a strong build. I wouldn't peg her as a bodybuilder, but definitely refined. She had silver scales from her tail spreading throughout her whole body. She had long silver hair with 4 horns sticking out of her head, swiping back around her head. She also had unblemished copper skin. She was also completely naked. I took a step back, lining up next to Duncan and Kalen, whose eyes looked ready to pop right out of their heads. To be fair, so were mine. Oh damn, she looked like an Amazon and she had the 6-pack to prove it. I think Jackie gave us a disgusted look. I couldn't tell. I was captivated by Sky's new body. Jackie smacked me over the head, bringing me back to my senses. I thought polymorph was a high-level skill. How did she do that? Jackie just rolled her eyes. Nick, she's a dragon. I just looked at her. Dragons have the ability to change into whatever they like, but don't. They think that transforming into anything but a dragon is a waste of time. Pompous pricks. She muttered that last bit. Looking back at Sky, she gave me a very, sharp smile. That made me gulp. Oh my. Clean, she ordered, spreading her hand out, inviting me to her. I was just going to use Create Water to wash her down. I don't think that's an option anymore. Ah, Jackie, yeah, I was throwing this hot potato right at her. She sighed. Come with me, lizard girl. I'll get you clean, and then I want you out, she ordered. Sky looked at me and then at Jackie, who was looking at her impatiently, tapping her foot. Is he your mate? She asked Jackie. Duncan and Kaylin looked confused. Sky must be talking in her dragon language. He belongs to me, Jackie answered. Sky just nodded. I wish to have him as well. We share. I give you 6 scales. Is she trying to buy me? No, now come on. The faster I clean you, the faster you leave. Jack answered, pushing Sky up the ramp into Mother Base. So, a dragon lady, huh? Whispered Kaylin. I didn't think she could just transform like that. I was just planning to clean her off real quick and get the hell out of here. I responded. Do you think she's going to stay? Duncan asked. I doubt it. Dragons like large open spaces, right? I doubt she would like to live in a small base with a bunch of people. Trust me, she'll take a quick bath and she'll be on her way. Probably. I muttered that last part. I only want a cool dragon friend that would show up and help in my time of need, not live in my house. Shame. A dragon could help fight the blight. They're one of the only species next to Mabari that are able to fight off the blight. Duncan said, giving me a look. Yes, well, that's too bad. I can barely feed you hungry hippos. Do you have any idea how much it would take to feed her? No thank you, I responded. They were huge, whispered Kaylin. Duncan and I just stared at him. He caught our looks and started stuttering. Teeth. I meant her teeth, that her teeth were huge. How can a king be so bad at lying? I thought that was part of the job description, like being a lawyer, or a therapist, or a president. Right, teeth, I said. Slowly. Whatever the case, I hope we can leave this behind and head back to Redcliffe. That got Kaylin to sober up and nod. I'm guessing you got the ashes. Duncan nodded. It was an amazing tale. Kaylin spoke up, starting to go over great detail on how he led everyone through the dangerous temple. As Kaylin regarded to me, the tale of the sacred ashes, as he called it. I gave a good look around, giving everyone a once-over. They all looked pretty good. Alistair, Ayla, Naisha, and Theron were looking out into space, probably shocked by Sky's nakedness. Poor Alistair looked like he saw the Maker's face and couldn't look away. Morrigan had her arms crossed, looking at no one, with a sheepish Aiden looking embarrassed, trying to reassure her that he wasn't looking. Sten looked exactly the same. Where were Leliana and Julie? Hey, Aiden, where's Leliana and Julia? They followed Jack and the tall woman into the bathroom. I might have to explain how the bathroom works again. These guys are beginning to smell a little ripe. As I focused back on Kaylin, who didn't even realize I wasn't paying attention as he continued his tale. He talked about the Temple Guardian and the puzzles they had to complete and the trial by fire. All amazing stuff, especially with the way Kaylin made it sound. By the time he was finished, the women were finished with their bath. Sky was wearing one of my long sleeping shirts that barely reached her thighs. Her tail made the shirt look extra tight. Oh my. She gave me a sharp smile. You know, that smile was growing on me. It was pure, bright, and full of joy. The scales I could see were clean and had a shine to them. Her horns were glowing white compared to her silver hair. Okay, so, Julia made a deal. Jackie spoke. Shit. Yeah, best deal you can think of. Her tail was wagging. Her smile matched Sky's. And, that is, I was bracing myself for what she was going to say next. Sky will help us save the world and she gets to live here until then. All in all, that didn't sound like a bad deal. In fact, I think that's the same deal everyone else had. We'll negotiate after we save the world if she stays any longer. I looked at Julie and her wagging tail, then at Sky and her wagging tail, and finally at Jackie, who was just giving me a shrug. Looking over to the rest of the group, Alistair, Ayla, and Theron zeroed back onto Sky's body. Everyone else was looking at me for an answer. Give me a break, I muttered, rubbing my face. Fine, fine, I'll make her a room in the attic for her to be able to come in and out through a window. Sky and Julie high-fived. I looked over to Jackie, who shrugged again. They really hit it off. I just gave a tired smile. If Julie found a friend, who am I to stop her from getting her to come along? I did do the same with Jackie. Julie, be a dear and give Sky a translation rune. We're going to need to understand her. Already ahead of you. She pulled out a translation rune placed on a choker and had to ask Sky to bend down a little, giving us a look at her cleavage. Oh my, Alistair started choking on air. I just started laughing at his red face. I'll make her some clothes and armor that will morph when she changes, and make the attic into a bedroom. Until then she stays with you. I pointed at Julie, who nodded. And I guess I'll teach her to read and write with Ayla, who gave a small squeak. I'm also going to have to make her own chair. I walked over to the control deck and placed the coordinates to Redcliffe, giving us an estimated time of about a day. With that done, I began making dinner before starting with the attic. Making the attic into a room was simple. The attic already existed. All I had to do was clean it out and use my construction skill to make the room bigger and add a window for her to open and close. I used some magical redwood logs for the lumber. In fact, I used redwood for just about everything needing logs. Jack, Julie and I farmed the hell out of that dungeon. I had my golem log over 10 trees, and with each tree giving me over 500 logs, I was swimming in redwood logs. It gave the room a slight magical glow. Sky seems to like it and tried to give me a deep tongue-filled kiss. Apparently, Julie has been reading her The Paladin and the Stable Boy and thought that was how you say thank you. Poor Ayla didn't see it coming. 1 second, she was passing Sky some of her leftovers, and next thing she knew, she was in Tongue City, population 2. I'm pretty sure Alistair almost died. He ended up choking on his food and was turning purple before Sten saved him. We've tried to stop her from doing that, and we were mostly successful. But she would still do it to some of the girls. I'm not sure if that was a dragon thing or if she just likes doing it. Still, she seems to get along with everyone. She would spend most of her time on the lawn as we flew. The wind in her hair made her look majestic, and every time I would see her turn to me, she would have the biggest smile. It would take my breath away. She and Julie seemed to take like bees to honey. Anytime she wasn't enjoying the fresh air, she would be watching TV with Julie explaining what was happening. Occasionally they would look at me and smirk. It was as scary as it was cute. I was happy that she didn't eat as much as she would if she was in her full dragon form. Still, she did eat like every other warden. I'm either going to buy more meat from the gamer's store or really stock up on meat when I hit a village. After that embarrassing incident with Ayla, both ladies seemed to find an agreement of some kind, because they did great in their first lesson. My teaching skill also leveled up, reaching Noise rank, rising my ability to teach correctly by 25%. I would occasionally spot her and Jackie talking over something, but I couldn't hear them. But whatever it was left Jackie with a blush. Jackie is so easy to tease. Whatever they talked about, Sky went back to Julie, who gained a huge smile. Whatever, it's none of my business. We reached Redcliffe around 12 in the afternoon the next day. With no more undead in the lake, I parked us by the castle. I have no doubt that some people are panicking, but we could explain later. For now, we have an hour to heal. Walking into the castle, the first person we came across was Tegan, who was rushing up to us. He gave Sky a double take. You don't see a 7-foot horned Amazon every day. Tegan, you look good, Kaelin called out. We have accomplished our mission. That made Tegan misstep. Already, but you just left not 3 days ago. We have a flying island. He answered. Ah, right, I suppose that would speed up your travel time, he muttered. What was the object you were searching for? Kaelin started retelling the story of the Temple of Sacred Ashes. By the time we reached Aemon's room, Kalen was going over how we defeated Sky. Sky leaned over to me. I do not remember seeing him among your warriors, she whispered. He was fighting off the drakes, I informed. She just huffed. You should not allow him to speak such tales, it will make you look bad. I just patted her hand. It's okay, allow him to tell his tale, it will make him feel better, but if he says that he defeated you solo, shake him a little, remind him that lying is wrong. She gained a smile. Kalen, skip to the end. We're here. Right, what the Maker sent us to Haven was to obtain was his wife's ashes. He then pulled out a small pouch containing the holy ashes. And with he then sprinkled the ashes over Aemon. Aemon began to groan, slowly opening his eyes, coming face to face with his nephew, brother, and a bunch of heavily armed weirdos. Oh, shit, we forgot about Brother Genitavi, was the first thing he heard.